kind of real quick, do any of y'all drive an electric car or a hybrid car?
No.
Nobody. Okay, I had one in the last group. They bought two. They liked the first one so good they got a second one. So that's the buzz right now, right? Is EV, and hybrid technology. Obviously, hybrid technology is not new. It's been out a long time now. It's tried and true. It works. Now we're moving into the whole electric EV world. What's happening, buddy?
Say something real quick. So I gotta go to class. Class at like 12ish. So I just want to let y'all know somebody's gonna come in here and pick y'all up. Y'all don't have to like just find me. So
Thank
I
you.
want to let y'all know.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll get them somewhere. So you've probably heard all the buzz on the news, TV, whatever. Everybody's talking about EV and electric and stuff. And so I just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of what you're talking about, what they're looking at, kind of where we're going. So first off, I ain't getting into the politics of it. I'm not getting all of that, but I will tell you the honest fact is electric transportation is not the answer to everything and all our problems. It's not the cure-all, end-all. It ain't going to fix the universe. It doesn't work that way. Everything you have is a trade-off, right? Nothing's free. There is no free. Y'all know that. Y'all really know that. But there's a place for it, and there's a customer for it that it literally is the answer. What you're talking about is basically with an EV is an all-electric, no engine whatsoever, glorified golf cart. Now, I mean really, really glorified. So I ain't trying to simplify it, but it's really, really fancy, right? So my golf cart, big old battery bank, right? Electric motor control and a motor and a gas pedal. Effective, right? Multiply that times about 20 and you end up with an EV car. So where mine is a 48-volt golf cart, an EV will be anywhere from 200 to 300 volts, enough to really, 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 really hurt you. I want you to think about that when you're talking about students working on your second biggest investment. So most of us, the automobile that we drive is the second biggest investment you make in your life, as far as items go. Okay? If you got your priorities right, you buy a house, and your car probably doesn't cost more than your house does. Now, I know some people that their car collection costs a lot more than their house does. They have their priorities perfect, in my opinion, but I'm a car junkie, so I get it, But my point is, not only are they ridiculously expensive, but we expect them to run for an extended period of time. If you buy a new car and you don't get 200,000 miles out of it, you bought the wrong car, honestly. And there's a lot of them on the market that don't, but most of them now, a couple 100,000 miles is very realistic. Okay? So when you're looking at the gasoline car versus an electric car, there's a lot to think about. And what you think about is, what is your lifestyle? What do you do? Where do you go? As the market moves forward, electric gets more and more realistic, but it also comes with some downsides. When the power goes out, you got one charge. Then what? Right? I mean, it's realistic. When the hurricane hits and the power's down for 5 days, you got a problem. So there's a whole level there that you have to rethink about and think about. Gasoline cars are not going anywhere in our near future. So with that said, we still spend a lot of time trying to teach students how to operate and work on gasoline and diesel vehicles, because they're going to be in their life for a long time. What's up, buddy? Okay. Yeah, no problem. So EV, big battery pack, a lot of them now are literally designed around the battery pack, because the battery pack is literally the most important part of a modern EV car. On a lot of your full EVs, the entire bottom structure of the car is the battery pack. It's concealed between two frames, basically, so you can't beat it on the ground, and it's sealed from the engine compartment. But the battery is so heavy and so big that the entire center structure of the car floor pan is the battery box. Now on this is a hybrid. So what's the difference between an EV and a hybrid?
Part motor, part battery.
Exactly. On a hybrid, I can run off a gasoline engine or an electric motor, or more commonly, the combination of the two. So I can take a little bitty small electric engine and keep the car going down the highway at 65, 70 miles an hour with no problem. It's a piece of cake. When I get to the hill, so driving from here to Raleigh is no big deal, but when I get into Nightdale, I start getting into small hills, right? Little bitty small engine, I start climbing hills, it doesn't work very good. So they bring in the electric power to assist the small engine. That small engine didn't burn a whole lot of fuel going from here to there. Now the electric motor is going to help me get up the hill. Or I pull out to pass somebody. Little bitty motor gets me nowhere. Electric motor comes in, a little assist, get around a car, go back in. Now, the real advantage is riding through Fire Tower Road. So there's 47 stoplights on Fire Tower Road before you get to the other road, right? So if you're on a hybrid, what happens every time you pull up the stoplight? The engine cuts off, right? When you first take off from the stoplight, if you ease into the throttle, it eases off on full electric. If the battery's fully charged, the further you'll go, and the newer the car is, the further you'll go before it'll crank up. So this is a 2012, and it has EV mode. So if you hit the switch, it will attempt to run like my fancy golf cart. Okay? Not crank them engine. I have never made it to Taco Bell. Y'all know where Taco Bell is, right? I've never once made it to Taco Bell on electric, even when it was brand new and fully charged. This one, I can't plug it in. It has gasoline only, right? So it's not what's called a plug-in hybrid. All of your new ones, now you're moving into the plug-in hybrid market. So now you're getting the third concept of EV, hybrid, and the combination of the two. So you have a much bigger battery cell. You see this? This is a step up here where you can see. So this is your regular 12-volt battery like it's in all of your cars. Everybody has one, right? That starts the car, runs your radio, runs the computer, runs everything. Okay? You see this great big silver box under here with its own blower motor and own computer control on top? That's the electric battery. So that's a 12-volt regular car battery like it's in everything. That's a 230-volt lithium-ion battery. That battery costs $150. That battery costs about $1,800 unless you buy it new from Toyota, where it's around $3,000. Okay?
How long does that battery last?
That's what I was getting ready to say. Very rarely will you find a hybrid vehicle with 200,000 miles on it that hasn't had to have a replacement battery. If you buy a remanufactured one, you're looking at anywhere from $1,200 to $1,800, depending on what it is. If you're buying a brand new one from Toyota, $3,000, $3,500 for that battery.
So then you have to maintenance all the electric, but then you got to maintenance the motor too.
Correct. But I will say, and I'm not pitching one or the other, but I will tell you in total honesty, Toyota owns the world when it comes to hybrids. I'm not a Toyota fanatic, I'm whatever, but I'm just honest. They built the best one on the market, and I'll stand behind that statement no matter who says what, because I've had them all apart. And I can tell you their drive system does not fail. The only problem you have for the most part is that.
But keeping up with both can be expensive. And
Yes, because if you have some of the others on the market, the transaxles die, so now you're looking at a $2,500 transmission along with a $3,000 battery to get that 200,000 miles. That car, 250,000 miles, no real issues. I mean, they're going to do it. You know what I'm saying? So there's a give and take. And that's why I tell people, be educated, and it's all about your lifestyle. Don't let people push it down your throat. Ooh, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread and peanut butter, because I love sliced bread and peanut butter, but it's not the answer to every meal. You know what I'm saying? So just to give you an idea of what you're dealing with when you're dealing with one, and as the future comes through, that's what you're going to be working on. You see these big orange cables? So y'all going to go to welding before the day's over with, right? And you're going to see this great big machine that can strike an arc and melt metal. That 230 volt battery with those big orange cables in the wrong situation can do the same thing. So that's what we're talking about enough to stop your heart. I mean, 12-volt battery, you can lick your fingers and grab the cables and it ain't going to hurt you. I mean, you can go try it. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can, right? I mean, I would not want to do that on this, okay? Now, there's a lot of safety features built in, and you don't hear about it a lot. Even the EMS technicians, they know how, they're trained, they know how to get into them, they know what not to touch. But basically, if it's wrapped in orange, be super cautious, okay? But there's enough energy in that battery. If an untrained person goes to change that battery out, there's potential there to have some major damage and major hurt. All right, so what does a technician today have to do? So everybody, and I know you hear this from a whole lot of people, but obviously in the automotive end, we're really short on technicians. I mean, we've been that way for years. It's been coming. We've been 10 years. We've been preaching this whole shortage of technicians is coming, and it's here. We've got a whole world of people retiring. I've got some people getting into it. I've got some people just taking classes. I've got some people, but I don't have enough people between all of the automotive programs around to fill all the gap because people keep buying cars. Population keeps increasing. Every one of y'all's household probably has one extra car more than you have drivers. Maybe not everybody, but the other ones probably have 2 extra cars. So that makes up for it. I mean, my household, I have 3 people driving and 6 cars on insurance. I mean, that's normal, right? I mean, I know I have issues, but hey, I'm not the only one. Come on. So, what I have here, and I tell y'all, I need a student that can actually read, comprehend, and understand, or comprehend what they're reading, and be able to kind of I mean, the same shit everybody else is begging for, right? I mean, I need somebody that's self-motivated, loves what they're doing, wants to learn. I mean, it's the same person that you beg for no matter what you teach or what you do or what industry you're in, right? I have a place for most all technicians levels. So if you go in a shop, average dealership, let's say you go to the corner where East Carolina Chrysler or you go to Brown and Wood, you got 14 technicians in there working on stuff. You have every level. From the entry-level person that's just walking the door learning to change oil to the 25-year veteran technician that literally is a master tech and covers everybody's butt when they can't fix it. Okay? I mean, you have it in every one of these dealerships. What you may not realize is the level of income that's capable there. So a lot of people go, I want to work on cars. No, you don't. You don't want to do that. And they're in their mind, they picture the grease monkey mechanic with the toolbox walking in dirty from head to toe. That still exists. I'm not going to glorify it and say it doesn't. Because if you go to pull the engine out of this nice clean car, you're going to get dirty. Me, I'm going to get really dirty. I'm still an old school technician. I ain't figured out how to do it yet. I had a guy work with me, one of my instructors. I swear he could pull the engine out, rebuild it, and put it back, and he would wash his hands to there. I ain't figured it out yet. So, but it's all about working smart. Nowadays, it's not the person that just jumps in and goes at it. It's the person that does their homework before they do it. If you take your car into a shop to have it worked on, if you go back in the back and look, and there's a toolbox there with no computer around it, go find another shop. Straight up. You cannot work on modern automobiles without having computer access and understanding how to use it, how to manipulate it, and how to find information. You cannot do it. Even to put tires on a modern car, you have to have a scan tool and be able to communicate with the car and tell the car where the tires are. Because all your modern cars have tire monitor sensors in each tire, so the car knows the air pressure in each tire and it knows where that tire is on the car. So if you just go out in the driveway and rotate your tires and you don't tell your car where your tires are, it'll tell you the right rear tire is low on air and it may be the left front. Now, some cars are smart enough that through perimeter sensors, it will figure it out. The more advanced systems have that capability, but you're going to pay for that too, right? I mean, everything costs, nothing's free. So the more technology we put in that car, the more it's going to cost us up front and the more it's going to cost us to fix it on the other end. And the more advanced the person in the middle needs to be to fix it. Okay? Keep that in the back of your mind as you move forward. So what I got going on here, and just real quickly, I'll kind of show you. Back up, back up, back up. All right. This is a 2015 base model Equinox. It is not the fancy one. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles and the gadgets and gadgets, and it's not, it's the base model. On the base model, you figure if you ask every person that you know, if you say, what's the most technically advanced thing you came into contact today with? Most of you are going to say, your tablet, your computer, your phone. I mean, that's what we automatically think of, right? How many computers are in that? There's one. How many are in your phone? There's one. Your fancy $4,000 laptop. There's one, right? This car, there's 20 in here running all the time. There's one main one that's the boss, and everything else reports to it. So when you go to work, you got a computer in every office, right? They're all networked together to a server that's sitting somewhere to get information, and everybody can share information, right? Same concept in your average car. Not your most expensive glitz and glamour car, but your average car. This car has about 20 controllers in it. They're all networked to the main bus. The main computer is communicating and kind of dictating and controlling direction. Okay? If you look, everything you see here is literally different modules in this car that I can access and control through the scan tool. So my old car comes in and headlights don't work. Pull into the shop. Hey, my headlights don't work. First thing guy goes, gets a meter out, starts pulling parts off to check them. You can't get to the headlights in this thing. You got to take something apart to get to it, right? I mean, it ain't like my old car, my old truck, the really old one I got, you can just reach under there and pull the plug out and start checking it. You got to take something apart. That's not where you start now. Technician today, you roll in, my headlights are messed up, they don't work. Typically, the technician is going to grab the scan tool and walk out to the car and start there. So they're going to say, well, wait a minute, I need to see what works and what don't. So if you just think about it, and when we're going to end up in the classroom where we're talking about this exact same thing, but if I end up, I could have a switch bad, I could have a fuse blown, I could have a relay bad, I could have a light burn out. There's a lot of different options, right? A lot of things it could be. How do I know what? Again, my old car, I start probing and picking, pull the dash out, pull the switch out. This car, modern car, I pick up a scan tool, and in this case, I'm going to go into the body control module. The body control module has all of these different functions that it controls individually. Okay? Every one of those is an output from the body control module or an input that it is looking at to determine what to do. So on a new car, when you turn the headlights on, you're not actually turning anything on but the switch. You're asking the computer, will you please turn the headlights on for me? And the computer says, okay, I guess I'll let you have some headlights. Power window. My old car has some really awesome power. Now I got both. I got mechanical windows, but I got power windows. But my power windows on my old car are like a guillotine. If the little kid sticks his head in the window, it's not going to stop. You know what I mean? Until I let off the button and go backwards, they're stuck. On a modern car, you push the button, you're asking the computer in the door to ask the computer, can I actually roll the window up? And it says, okay, yes. And then it comes back and the computer in the door turns the window motor on and says, start rolling up. Little kid sticks head in door. What happens? The window comes up. The computer is monitoring the motor. If the amperage on the motor goes up and spikes, you go, oops, stop me, and it starts rolling back down. I don't care what you do with the button. You could want to cut the kid's head off. It ain't going to work. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so you can't do that. That my point is, you're asking the computer to do something for you, and then it decides whether you get it or not. That's how everything in a modern automobile works. Period. Almost everything. When you reach over and shift gears, you're on an older car, you're physically moving something. On a modern car, you may as well be talking to it. Go to reverse, please. We're coming. There's no reason not to. There's nothing to stop us from that. Okay? You're asking it to do it. So if I go to, let's say I go to high beam headlights, for example. If I told you my headlights weren't working, then I can use the scan tool to access the computer on the car, and I can say, hey, turn my lights on. If I can say turn my lights on, if my thumb will hit the button, hold on a minute. Come on, thumb hit the button. Why? Why are you being like this? There we go. When I ask it, it'll turn the lights on. Voila, magic. It's not anything special. But if you think about it, I can now pick my tool up, walk to the car, plug it up, and I can start checking all the different modules on the car that may or may not have a problem, and I literally just cut the job in half. So now I can see, is it a control problem or is it a input problem? So do I have a bad switch, or do I have... That just completely eliminated the computer, the relay, and the bulbs and the headlights in one button. Now I know I have a problem on the other end, so I can go back and actually look and go, is the switch... So I can go look at the headlight switch. Is it actually seeing the headlight switch change? The same thing with brake lights. Brake lights don't work. I can go right in here and go, I mean, how many different brake outputs do we have? All that stuff that says brake is just on the brake pedal, when you push the brake pedal. So you think, what happens when you push the brake pedal? It activates the brakes and it turns on the brake lights, right? It's about 20 more things than that when you push the brake pedal. You also deactivate the cruise control, right? You also tell the transmission you're getting ready to stop. So it changes, cuts off the torque converter, it starts to go downshift. There's so many things that happen with everything that you do, and now we have total redundancy on everything. So for example, on a modern car, you don't even have a cable hooked between your foot and the throttle and the engine. It's simply a switch that they just put in the same spot so you would feel comfortable driving. It's literally, it's there. We've gone so far to make the driver comfortable to be able to be in a new modern car that literally what you are driving is almost a video game console. You see the kids with the real fancy video game consoles that the pedals vibrate and the steering wheel vibrates? You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. We're literally putting feedback motors in the car components, in the real car components, so that the driver gets the feel of things, because literally they're doing what we call drive-by-wire. It's crazy, right? Accelerator pedal. On a modern car, on your old car, your accelerator pedal was hooked to your engine. Your steering wheel is hooked to your tires. When you turn the wheel, if you cut the car off, take the battery out, put it over there, the car will still turn, it will still stop, right? When you push the pedal, it'll still open, but it may not run because it doesn't have a battery in it. On a modern car, there's two sensors on the accelerator. There's an electric motor on the throttle with two sensors on it, and both sensors have to be perfect or it just goes to idle. You push all you want to. You can push that thing until your foot gets tired.
Which cars are considered? Where did the computer start in cars?
So,
Like
in the United States, we put the first computer in the car in '83. Okay. Basically, where we consider American computerized cars started in '83. Europeans started before that with some really, 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 really dumb computers, but that's where we were. And in '83, when we put a computer in the car in the United States, it's a dumb computer. I mean, by today's standards, your telephone has about 2,000 times more power than that first computer in a car in the early 80s, right? Yeah. And in the early 80s, it wasn't really smart. So if anything happened, it died. It didn't know what to do. It had no clue. I mean, nowadays, there's so many redundancy features built in that your computer looks at so many different things. If one sensor goes out, it's, I don't think that thing's quite telling me the truth. And it kind of looks at this and says, I think this might be, okay, we'll work here and we'll tell the driver there's a problem and they need to go get it fixed, right? And so your check engine light comes on in the dash, but your car still runs, you still go to work, you don't have to wear out your shoes. Now we're at a point that your car says, there's a problem. It notifies text message. It sends a message to your dealer. The dealer looks for a spot, looks at the problem with the car because it tells the dealer what the problem is with the car or what it knows the system problem is. They look at it and go, this could be what. They notify you back. We have an opening on Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock. Would you like to have that so we can bring in your car and work on it? It looks like we're going to need about 2 hours to fix what's wrong with your car. You just left this stoplight and went to that stoplight. You're down. You ain't got to the other end of Fire Tower Road and 41 stoplights yet. And it's already notified the dealer, and the dealer notified you that there's a problem. We are literally at that point. That's not a down the road. That's already here. That's where we're at and what we're looking for with an average technician today. I won't say average, but with your more advanced technicians, they are having to deal with those type of systems. What I want to understand is it's not just the person turning a wrench in the back of the shop. In Greenville, the average technician, $50,000 a year is not hard. Now, they have to work hard, but it's not hard to make. I mean, if they're willing to go to work, show up every day, and put forth, you can make $50,000 a year without a lot of hoopla. That's pretty much everywhere in town. Independent shops. Now, I'm not saying everybody there is making that, because obviously there's entry-level guys changing oil, doing whatever, just getting started. I've got students that are just getting started, and they're working their way up. I've also got students that are 5 years out of school making $80,000 and $90,000 a year working in a dealership. Okay? In Greenville. I'm not talking about big metropolitan markets. I'm talking about Greenville. Almost every dealership in this town has a technician making $100,000 a year. And if you're going to spend $50,000 on an automobile, you better be glad. The labor rate now at most of your dealerships is anywhere, at most of the dealerships in Greenville, is anywhere from $110 to $140 an hour. And you have a heart attack. Oh my God. So, Pitt Community College is real. I'm blessed. I'm telling y'all, I love my job, and I have been blessed way far than I should be. Because when I came to work here in 1998, we had one scan tool, we had 3 multimeters, and one little training board to teach electrical with. And when I started teaching, back then, of course, the scan tool was a very simple little toy, and basically, I'd take a class the size of y'all and say, so you see this? And I made a 20-foot cord that I could put on the car because you didn't have wireless, and I'd go walk around, so you see, no, pinch power button. Now, we just bought a whole brand new set of scan tools because the ones we have, about every 10 years, they're obsolete. That's $10,000. School cost. Okay? We bought 10 of them. One of my goals with our program is that when the student comes through here, they're not just watching me talk about it, they're using it. Okay? I want them to have their hands on it. I want them to use it so that when they go out and start working on your $50,000 car, they know what they're dealing with. I tell my students when they're working on somebody's car, they're taking somebody's family's life in their hands. This is all glitz and glamour and cool and fun, and this is where they want to get to. But if the electrical system on the car dies, if you hit that button at the top that says off, it'll kill the headlights. Just hit that little button right at the top that says off. Hey, you hit it on one. You did all that with them long fingernails.
Yes, I
couldn't do it with a
did.
finger. It took me 4 times. So, when you're dealing with it, you're basically toting a laptop that has software to deal with every make and model of vehicle in it. That's why it costs so much. It's not the computer. It's the software and information. But a technician needs to be able to learn what we're trying to teach them. And then every year it just gets more and more and more and more and more advanced. And that's where we're headed. And I know I'm not the only one preaching that because it's every aspect of everything we do. If you build a house, the basic structure of the house you build today is the same basic structure you built in 1950. The basic structure. Now, you have a lot of sophisticated components, things like that, but basic concepts are basic, right? But your modern house needs to have all the amenities that you want that you didn't have in 1950. They weren't even thought about, some of them. Same thing with your car. So now, we'll cover that when we get there. That kind of give you an idea where we're at, where we're headed, right? So we're going to back up. We're going to walk through here and go into the shop. All my students are still in class today. And all right, come on, we'll cut through here.
I'm the assistant principal.
All right, guys. This is what I consider the most important class in the building. And I'll tell you why. If the engine stops, you call a tow truck and they take you home, right? If the transmission quits, you pull over side the road, you call a tow truck, they haul it to the shop. If a technician screws up the brakes or the steering and the suspension, you hit the school bus with 37 head on it and twist it. Now I know I always use that analogy with the 37 head of the school bus to try to drill into people. This is the part that gets people killed. Okay? When the brakes don't work and the steering and suspension don't work, people die. Period. When the fancy stuff don't work, you just stop. Call somebody come get you. If that don't work, when you stop, you probably hit something you weren't supposed to, more than likely. So what they're doing is, how many of you have ever gone down the road on your car and you hit the brake pedal and you feel the steering wheel shake a little bit? If you let off the brake pedal, the steering wheel stops shaking. Then what they're doing is machining the rotor. So basically when the brake rotors get hot, they warp. Just like any other piece of metal or anything else, right? So once that happens, the only way to screw them up is actually put them on one of the machines that we have. So we have off-car brake raises, which are what you see in the corner, and then we have on-car brake raises. You put them on the machine, you turn them, machine them back through you, and make them parallel, and now that stops that vibration when you go on that road and hit the brake. Doesn't sound like a whole big deal, right? So that's $10,000. Every shop has got to have one. Well, these guys are in the third week of class, so they're literally this morning they were in demonstration mode, and now they're in hands-on mode. And just to give you an idea, that's my instructor's car. Okay, so our students aren't just working on our donated cars and the stuff we have for training. They're working on people's cars that ride up and down the road. When my child was born in 2002, the vehicle that I brought my child in, that would be a lie. But what I carried around in all the time, my students built. If I don't trust them, how are you going to trust them? So when I pull my car in here and they're working on it, I'm going to drive it home. My daughter's car.
Let us touch it.
All right, well, you believe it. No, but that's if you. We try to impress on them.
I mean, that's mine right there.
Yeah, that's what we try to, and so is that one, by the way. The 2001 Dodge truck on the lift, that's his too. He's my rich instructor. He's the one with all the students. All right, come on over here. I'm going to tell you what's going on. Actually, he's a single instructor with no kids. So he can afford all these toys. All right, so the biggest expense on your modern car that you should have is tires. Come on up here. Come on. Everybody took a bath today, or at least in the last couple of days. I hope, right? All right, so what's going on here is basically a front end alignment. So we got the car set up on the alignment machine. We're in the process of trying to get the tires to roll straight down the road. This is the #1 wear item on an automobile, period. It is also one of the most common things that will get you killed. every day, at least 3 days out of the week, when I drive from here to my house, it's 12 miles to my house. Between here and my house and back, I will see a car at a stoplight with a flat tire. Almost every time. The first thing I tell everybody, I don't care if you know anything about cars, if you don't care anything about cars, if you just don't want to use your tennis shoes, pay attention to your car's tennis shoes. Okay? It ain't hard to walk out and just look and see. I see them all the time, sitting with tires half flat. Average set of tires now on an average car like this, nothing special, nothing fancy, about $600 a set of tires. The most you're going to get out of them is between 50 and 60,000 miles, and that's on a great day, on a perfect world, and everything's great, and your 16-year-old son's not driving. Normally, if you've got a performance vehicle or something with a set of performance tires, you're looking at 25 to 35,000 miles on a set of tires. In 200,000 miles, that starts to get expensive, and those don't cost $600 a set. If you're driving a new Corvette, which I know all of y'all have a new Corvette, right? So, my two at home, I don't drive a lot. I wish. So, your new Corvette, you're looking about $1,500, $1,600 for a set of tires. Some of them, if you really buy a set of performance tires, you may be looking at a couple grand, and those are only going to last 25,000 miles, guaranteed, because they're super soft. But you need to be able to go into a corner at 140 comfortably. Right? I mean, everybody does that daily, so you need to be able to do it very comfortably. What we're trying to get you to comprehend is this is the simplest thing on the car to look after. You don't need to know what you're looking at. You just need to know something don't look right. If you look at the tires and you're walking by and you see this size worn more than this one is, there's a problem. You don't need to know how to fix it. You just need to know there's a problem. Take it to somebody that can fix it. When I used to teach alignments, I would start alignment class not with this. This is a $35,000 piece of equipment and a $25,000 lift. I didn't start there. I started in the middle of the floor with a tape measure and a piece of string. All this is doing is a really fancy measurement device. Okay? What you're physically doing is what your eye can see if you train your eye to look. So I would start with a car on the floor, on the ground, with a tape measure and a long piece of string. Old tobacco twine. Anybody know what tobacco twine looks like? Around eastern North Carolina, you're supposed to, right? You don't see it no more, but you know what it was for. Stretch it out down the side of the car. Look at the tires with the piece of string. Tape measure from the front of the tire to the back of the tire. Measure wheelbase. That's how I start class. Tape measure, string. Take a level, lay it up against the tire. Is the tire standing up straight? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out. If you walk like this all day long and you drag your feet, what are you going to do? If you walk like this all day long, what are you going to do? Right? I mean, it ain't rocket science. I mean, what we do ain't rocket science, but it costs people a lot of money. If you walk nice and straight and flat, your shoes last forever, right? Mine don't. I don't do nothing straight. So mine wear out on the back corner. Every pair of shoes I got wears in the same spot. I bet every pair of shoes you got wears in the same spot. Everybody in here does. If you can correct that on your car, you just went from a 20,000 mile set of tires to a 50,000 mile set of tires. I have put tires on cars for people, and 5,000 to 6,000 miles down the road, they come in and look, and one side we're almost off. I mean, it's an alignment issue. That's what this is taking care of. When you look at it, it actually has targets mounted on all four tires. It has a target on each camera, and a camera that's looking at each target, and the two targets, the cameras look at the opposite camera. Basically, it is laying this car on a plane in space, and the computer is calculating down to the thousandths of an inch where the tires are and what angle they are at, in, out. So if I'm talking about towed in, I'm talking about this, towed out. Camber and caster is when the tires lean in and out or lean back. Some of the stuff you can't see with the naked eye. It'll calculate the angles If you got a car that's been wrecked, I can physically make it look beautiful where you don't have a clue. It is nothing uncommon to ride down Fire Tower Road and see a car going down the road doing this. It's called crab walking. If you ever get behind one and you look at it and you go, man, that ain't right. And the car is literally going down the road, straight down the road, but sideways. I promise you, you look for it, you'll see it. In the next 2 weeks riding through Greenville, if you look for it, you'll see one. Once you ever see it, you'll see it all the time. And what it is whoever did the alignment on it or fixed it after the wreck damage didn't do the rest of the fix, which is this part. And that's what they're doing, is resetting everything. The equipment in the shop, the technicians are making good money, man. There's money out there to be made. The shops are making money. They don't open a shop to go broke, right? I mean, let's face it, you probably love your job, but if you quit getting paid, you'll probably stop showing up. That's a pretty fair statement. I mean, some of you might work for nothing for free for a month or two just because you love your students, but you probably ain't going to go through next school year without a paycheck. So everybody, wherever you work, you're there to make money, right? The dealerships, there's a lot of money to be made in our industry. It costs a lot to get stuff, but the overhead is atrocious. It is atrocious what it costs to set up a shop. Like I told you, we just bought $100,000 worth of scan. That's about a 10-year run, and they're going to be obsolete again. Typical shop's going to update this. We do updates, which are $1,000 for the update. We update ours about every 2 to 3 years, just for the update. To buy a new one, just the center unit with the cameras, is about $35,000. And there's a point where it's just a computer, but once they break, the cameras are obsolete. They don't make them anymore, and you get to that stage. Everything in that shop. The other problem is we have such a shortage of technicians. They're having to pay more. I've got starting guys coming out of school starting at $15 an hour is pretty normal, because why wouldn't you? You can go to McDonald's and start at $15 an hour for the hamburgers. So I'm going to tell a guy to go through 2 years of school, do all their homework, do everything they're supposed to do, and go spend $10,000 on tools to go to work to make $10 an hour? I can't sell that argument. I just can't do it. So this is an expensive field just for the technician. If you go in, and I'll use East Carolina Chrysler for example, because I was in there the other day. Some of the guys that are the lead techs there are my former students. I mean, I've been here 23 years, so I got guys all over everywhere. I walk in there and I'm jealous. Because the first thing you walk in the back of that shop is a wall of toolboxes. They don't have a toolbox. None of them. The lowest paid person in the shop can't work out of a toolbox that size. That's what we use for a student box. You can't make a living out of that box. There's not enough stuff in it. There's no way. So the average technician, toolbox. The toolbox itself with nothing in it, when you start talking about a big wall box, the toolbox itself can be 25 to 30 grand. But now that's a toolbox going to last them a lifetime. They'll be handing it down to their grandchildren. All right? What's in it, I personally have about $25,000 in tools when I was in the dealership, but I had it in a $500 Craftsman toolbox because the toolbox didn't make me money. I couldn't put that thing beside a car and it made me a dime. Everything in it is what makes the money. But you got to have a place to lock it if you're you follow me? So the investment for the student is really high. The payoff is good now compared to what it was. And I just really want to make sure people understand that. All right? So, come on, we'll walk right through here and then we'll walk out and I'll show you. What time are y'all supposed to be? What time? What is it? No, what time are y'all supposed to be done?
It says 11:35 on the schedule.
Seriously? Holy crap.
Yeah, 11:35.
And some sometimes it's a 5-day work week with a rotating day off. So they might be off Wednesday this week, Saturday next week. I mean, it just rotates. All the shops are different. There are a few shops left that are Monday through Friday from 8 to 6. But the way they get paid is based on the job, not the hours on the clock, depending on where they're at. So when my students first start, they'll get paid whatever hours they're there. Once they're there a while, they'll get switched over to what we call book ready. And they get paid based on the job. So if they've learned how to do the job faster, the job pays 3 hours and they do it in 2.5, they're basically making more money. When they first start out, they'll work 30 hours, they'll get paid for 30 hours. When they first switch to commission, most of them are going to work 45 hours and get paid for about 35 hours. Because they're not fast yet. Once they've done it over and over and over, they start to pick up, and then the next thing you know, they're working 45 hours a week and get paid for 55. Plus their hourly rate goes up. So now a student can start at 15. I've got guys in town making $35 an hour. They're experienced, they've been there a while, and quite honestly, that's the person you want working on your car. You go, I won't pay $35 an hour to get my car working on. But I promise you, if you spent $55,000, if you buy a new Yukon, it's 90 grand. You ain't gonna want to carry it to the dealership and get the guy that just walked out of school that won't pay attention and slept through class to work on them. We can put that person on it, but that might not be the person you want working on your car with your kids in it going home. I promise you, if you put your kids in your car, you want that guy that's making $35 an hour to work on it, because it's probably gonna come out and be right. So a few minutes ago, we were hooked to a scan tool, right? Had a scan tool hooked to the car, we turn on the headlights, right? Really cool, neat, play toy, wow. That is irrelevant if you can't get to 1950. Now, what does that mean? The hardest thing I have to teach a student are the basics from 1950. And you go, why in the hell are you teaching them 1950? It is 2023. Because if they don't understand 1950s, they can't work on the 2020 model. That scan tool is only going to tell you but so much, okay? That's the wiring diagram that the electrical students are building today on the trainers. Okay, so these are electrical trainers. I told you I try to put stuff in students' hands, right? So in our class, we've got 23 of these trainers. This does not look like anything special but a suitcase. But what it really is it has actual, come on, get up here. Come on. I promise you, I took a shower this morning. I've been sweating, but it ain't too bad. Electrical trainer for basic electricity. Every one of my students gets their hands on this trainer. What is this? This is a basic trainer that covers, this is a battery and this is a light bulb. For this to work, I have to have power coming from my battery to my light bulb, and it has to return from my light bulb back to ground on the battery, and that's literally what it takes to make a bulb come on, right? And then we go into how does the bulb work? Because if you don't know how the bulb works, then how do you diagnose it? How do I know if something's not working if I don't know what it's supposed to do when it works, right? Now, we'll build it from there to add a fuse, because I need a fuse in all my circuits to protect it so it doesn't short out and burn my car up. And then I need a way to turn it on and off, because I don't want to have to get out and pull the wire off the battery every time, right? So I turn a switch, put a switch in the circuit, and then we continue until we add a relay in the circuit. Once we get to the relay, we're about 1950. So basically, this trainer, except for this, is about 1950. Okay? Everything that's other than this, everything on here was on the car in 1950. Well, maybe this wasn't here. This is a newer model flasher module. Okay, well, it's really high tech, right? Hazard lights. Any of y'all ever even seen a car without hazard lights? So in 1950, we had hazard lights, just not that one, right? You see where I'm headed? Now, what gets me from 1950 to from 2022 is the accessories I add in and all the gadgets and gizmos. Because my 1950 car didn't have a GPS on it. It didn't have my automatic. What time are you leaving now?
Yeah,
Am I?
11:35.
All right. So real quick, this wiring diagram basically takes you 1950 with the exception of this right here. Okay. It's going to be the same thing for every car. If you can blow the horn, push the button, blow the horn, control the relay, Remember a few minutes ago I had the scan tool with the body control module I was telling you about? Body control module. My scan tool talks to my body control module, still works off the exact same wiring diagram and the same components that the 50s, 60s, and 70s and 80s cars did, except I add in the computer, and now I have the capability to monitor and to control that fancy old school wiring diagram or wiring components with this part. The next step is your car has a problem, you're on Fire Tower Road, and the dealership calls you and says, hey, we can set you up for an appointment on Tuesday to get that problem fixed that they've already diagnosed and ordered the part. So when you get there, it's in stock. The lights still work off of that. All right? Cool. God, I'm sorry I run my mouth forever, but any questions? I know y'all got to go. Thank y'all for taking a day and come out here and see what we got at Pitt Community College. When he says it's the best kept secret, in my opinion, it is not a lie. I've been here 23 years. I can't keep up with what goes on the rest of the campus. I can't. I used to, but he can't do it anymore. It's just too much offered. Y'all have a lovely day.
Thanks.